Nick, welcome.
Hey, Tom. Yeah, thanks.
It has been a minute. um, Great to have you. I don't know if you watched part of that panel that we just had. It was absolutely incredible.
Yeah, that was great stuff. I caught about half of it. I was in and out getting prepared here.
Yes, it's understandable. And you have a lot to share. These next 38 minutes are probably going to fly by. But we had you on the first AI Symposium event back in March. Welcome back. But for all those new attendees and new audience members, why don't you introduce yourself, what you do, and how you use AI?
Yeah, absolutely. So, my background mostly is in the video space. So my full-time job at this point is still running business video school, where we teach small business owners how to communicate through video, use it to grow their business, improve customer service, kind of the whole 9 yards. Turns out there's a lot of overlap, I think, between the power of video and the potential power of AI. So I'll obviously talk more about that today. But I've been using AI, really only about 1.5 years now. I was, one of those early adopters for ChatGPT, although obviously there's lots of folks that were using it well before that. And just to be clear, like I'm not a technical person. I have a degree in entrepreneurship, which means you have a general business degree. I don't know how to code. I don't know how to build my own apps or anything like that. But I am very much entrepreneurial and interested in coming up with ideas and trying things. And so, yeah, that's really where my kind of background in AI comes from, is, being an early adopter of using it to write code and then subsequently build my own AI tools somewhat from scratch. They're utilizing existing AI. In this case, we're using OpenAI's system, so that's pretty common. But you can build these tools so that there's a platform, a framework. I'll show an example. It's probably easier to see it. But that are very specific use cases, right? So kind of like an AI tool that really only does one thing, but therefore does that thing really well. And we've had a lot of success with that. I've offered some of these tools to our students. I use them to generate leads, generated hundreds and hundreds of leads so far with just one AI tool, which again, I can share that later. So yeah, so it's really, I think, kind of a new way to do marketing. There's so many different places to use it, but that's where I get excited, because my background is very much in the marketing space.
Yeah, a novice user for 1.5 years. You have, I would say, not novice. Started 1.5 years ago. I've been using it for about 1.5 years, and I'm like a little league, and you're pro. You're the elite. I'd like to, I guess, would you want to start off and show us how you use AI to code?
Yeah, well, let me, if you don't mind, let me show an example of what we're talking about first, because I always find that like it's really cool when you see the code, but it's helpful to know kind of what it is that the code's creating, because a lot of you are probably like me. I can't really read the code. Like, I kind of get what it says because I've been doing this enough now, but I want you to see what the output looks like first, if that's all right. So let me go ahead and just pull up. I'm gonna do just a couple screen shares, which I know can get a little bit messy here.
Yeah, I had trouble with that earlier, but I think I have that figured out. So we'll roll with it, and hopefully technology.
Well, you tell me if, yeah, are you seeing my page here now?
Yes, I am. Yes.
All right, perfect. Okay, so let me start out here. Actually, let me switch. I think I have 2 versions of this pulled up. I should have closed the one first. Let me switch that one more time, because I want to give you an example of this that also has a video incorporated. So where did I put this here? There it is. Okay. So this is the one I want to show you. So this is the core idea, all right? The core idea here is that we can now build, and when I say we, I mean anybody, because again, I think you can do what I did, and I'll show you how to do it. But we can build very specific AI tools, right? So this particular one, let me scroll down and just show it really quickly here. I work with a lot of real estate agents. Probably 90% of our students in our school are in the real estate space. And they're always looking for ways, especially right now, because there's a sort of drop off in total transactions in that industry at the moment. They're looking for creative ways to get in front of people, right? It's just basic marketing stuff. How do I offer something to my audience that is unique enough, that stands out enough, that's enough of a differentiator that they're going to take action? And for real estate agents, this is really hard because there's a lot of them The marketplace does tend to see them all as pretty much the same, which is not fair, but that is kind of how they think of them. And so there's sort of a constant sort of desperate effort to find things to differentiate yourself. And so this is my take on AI. I'll kind of incorporate some of my philosophy here as I'm chatting about this. I think where AI is really useful as of right now is in giving people a more customized experience, right? And I think that's already kind of come up as a theme a bunch of times today. But the idea here is I want to be able to put something on my website, provide something in my marketing. You can think of this as a lead magnet, but I want to give them something that allows me to then give every single prospect a unique result, right? Now, that's obviously what AI does, right? So this is basically, think of it this way. If in the past, if I was a real estate agent and I said, okay, I want to help you find your ideal neighborhood, there's a couple ways for me to do that. One is I can get on a phone call with each of you, ask you a series of questions, and then I can give you my personal recommendations. That's very time consuming, but that would obviously work. And that would give everybody a completely custom idea, right? On the other end of the spectrum, I can just give them a guide, something they can download, a couple pages long with some instructions and some ways to think about it, and then maybe a list of all the neighborhoods, and maybe I have a little quiz or something they can take, right? But those are kind of the two extremes. And I think what AI allows us to do now is just combine those two experiences, right? So I can give them something that I don't have to provide one-on-one that still gives them the kind of response they would get from talking to me one-on-one, right? And I think that's where there's a huge opportunity, right? So this is the example. This is a neighborhood matchmaker. I'll just use it really quickly here so you can see what it does. But I type in the general area where I'm thinking about moving. Let's just throw in a price point here. Let's do 350K. There are houses available for that price in this area, by the way. I don't know where you're tuning in from, but I know some areas that's probably pretty cheap. And then I can select, what's cool here is I can sort of select different things that are important to me, right? So that's what matters. I'm getting a completely customized response. I can choose how far I'm willing to live from those different amenities. And then the coolest part of this, and this is not a lot of people won't use this box, right? But then we can also include anything. And so before I hit the find the neighborhood button, what I want to point out, because a lot of people will be like, well, I can do this with ChatGPT. I just go in and say, hey, help me find an ideal neighborhood. It'll talk to me and I'll get a response, right? But this part of it, the form, the structure that we're providing to the user, that is what saves them effort. That's what saves them time. Like they don't have to think about what kinds of things to put into the AI. They don't even necessarily have to fill this open-ended box in at the bottom. They check a couple boxes, they put a general area in, and they click find neighborhood, right? So once they do that, we're going to see up here, it just has this little icon that says it's running for a few seconds. Usually takes about 30 seconds or so. And what they're going to get over here on the right-hand side is a completely custom answer to this question, right? And so here we go. We got a couple responses. In this case, it recommends the Hillcrest subdivision. So I actually designed this tool so it tries to get all the way down to that level, right? Like specific subdivisions that they should go look at, because that makes it very easy for them to go look for houses in that area and then hire that real estate agent to help them. And then down here, it gives them more general areas as well. So like Central West End or the Tower Grove South, those might also be a good fit for you. And that's it, right? So this tool is really simple. It's going to give them these answers. They can say whatever they want. They can reuse it multiple times. But the idea here is that what they're now doing is, number one, they're spending a lot of time on my website, right? That's a great signal to Google. It's good for the user. They're spending time with me. I'm also giving them insight. I'm giving them clarity. I'm helping them through the process in a way that up until about a year or two ago, I would have had to do one-on-one, right? And so that's the tool, right? So I don't want to, I'm going to kind of stop and see if there's any questions as I go here. But these are the kinds of things that you can build. One last part I'll just show on this page while we're here is I also recommend always having a form at the bottom of the page and a video at the top. And so what this does, to kind of give you the full picture, if you want to kind of follow this process yourself, is the video is me explaining the tool, how to use it. That's part number one. And part number two is that I then say, okay, once you get those neighborhoods, the places you want to go look into more deeply, you're going to scroll down to the bottom of the page here. You're going to fill this form in, and then I'll get in touch with you so we can go look at some houses for sale in those neighborhoods, right?
Okay.
And the last part of this, I just want to mention the reason we really encourage you to think about incorporating video here is that it changes the experience from I'm on some random agent's website using an AI system that sort of is replacing that person, which is not what we want users to think. And instead, once I have a video, now they're seeing me. We're turning that part of their brain on that recognizes human faces, right? So they feel like they're having this conversation with me, and they're attributing the benefit they're getting then to me, right? So now it's I'm the person who's providing this tool to you, not here's a tool that could replace me, right? So we're sort of interjecting ourselves into that experience. Yeah. So go ahead.
To that video. So tomorrow we're going to have on Hector Gomez that has he did his own like 2-minute intro video that allows him to essentially speak in any language. So I think it'd be a really cool idea to have a digital twin of yourself and being able to select and use and speak and translate and into any language that they want to be communicated in.
Yeah, no, I mean, I think that's, again, that's another example, right, of using AI to provide a more customized experience to the end user, right? I mean, most of our customers speak English, right? We do have a lot of Spanish speaking customers. So yeah, I mean, I think that's a perfect example of, how you can continue to incorporate these things together. And I think, it cannot be overstated, especially if you're in a business where you're doing the sales, you're the face of the business in some way. They need to see your face, right? I mean, that's what video has sort of made possible for us. And that is a big difference. If we've seen someone, if we've kind of have that feeling like we've had that conversation face to face with them, we trust them a lot more automatically, right? In fact, it's recognition of our face that builds trust faster than anything else. So I love that. I think it's a great idea.
So go ahead. It's interesting.
Yeah, no, cool.
I also wanted to interject that. And
no, I think, well, right. That would be a perfect example of something you can put here. So I think that's anyway, but that kind of summarizes this page. I think and it's really simple, right? I mean, this is not, you could make this page much more elaborate. You could add a bunch of your testimonials and all that kind of stuff like you might on a normal landing page. But all I'm trying to do here is I'm just trying to get people to use the tool, get some kind of benefit, and then fill out the form at the bottom, right? As long as they come down and fill that out, now I've got the lead. Now, another way to use this is you can make them opt in first. That's kind of what I typically do. So I'll run an ad that says, hey, I got this tool. If you want this tool, you just have to fill out this form and I'll give you access to it, right? They fill out the form, and then I send them to this page. Now I already have their contact information. The difference in that case is the people that fill out the form at the bottom of the page, those are the hot leads, right? Now, those are the people, it's like, I got to call that person in the next 10 minutes.
You're creating the funnel. Or even have AI call them or have AI text them.
Right, yeah. I mean, you can have your systems kind of follow up automatically, right? You can have an automated video that goes out to them. And there's so much of this that can be automated at this point. So, all right. Well, that's example number one, right? So that's kind of where I just wanted to make sure everybody had a picture in their mind of what they're looking at. So now what I can do for you is let me switch my share a couple times more, because I can show you how to build these yourself. And just to be clear, I'm doing a quick overview here today, and I appreciate you guys letting me share a couple slides because I know that's a little tricky. This won't be a comprehensive training, right? Because obviously in 30 minutes, we're not going to teach you to do something like this from scratch. But what I do want you to see is really how simple this is. And with just a little bit of experimentation, I think anybody can ultimately do this. So the first thing I'm going to share is a platform. So if you want to start taking some notes here, this is a platform called Hugging Face, which is a weird name, but that's what it is, called huggingface.co.
Okay.
And let me pull it up and show you the first step here. Oh yeah, this is the one I want. Okay. All right, so this is huggingface.co. You can see it up here in the top if you can see that closely. These are, so in terms of like websites you can visit on the internet, this is one of the more techie kind of nerdy places on the internet, right? So Hugging Face, it's a platform for hosting essentially experimental AI tools. So like Meta, when they made some different AI tools that, for instance, generate music from scratch, things like that. this is the first place they typically ever hosted them. And then if they go well and they get good feedback on them, maybe they'll integrate them into their products and stuff like that, right? So if you're not a techie person, be a little careful, because it's not designed for average users, right? It's going to kind of looks kind of overwhelming in a lot of ways. So the main thing though you want to do is you can just come directly to my spaces if you'd like. In fact, if you want at the end here, I'll give you my number. You can text me and I'll just send you links to the stuff, so you don't have to worry about it in the meantime. But what's really cool about Hugging Face here is that you can use it for free. You can host your own tools, and you can even copy existing tools if those people have set them up to let you copy them, right? And so that's what I'm going to show you. So I'm going to basically show you how to go in, take one of my existing tools, take the code out of it, and then make your own version, basically using my existing tool as a framework. So I'll hopefully save you a couple steps there. All right, so here we are. This is what's called a space on Hugging Face, which is one of the tools. This particular tool is one that I'm kind of in beta on at the moment, but it's actually an email subject line and pre-header generator, right? So this is the kind of thing I do marketing. I work with people in the marketing space. Email open rates are one of the trickier parts of the marketing world. How do I get people to open my emails, click on the links, all that kind of stuff? This tool is meant to help people that might be struggling with that, right? So this is the kind of thing I'm going to put on my site. I'm going to run some ads, say, hey, are you trying to do a better job with your email writing? What that does is it tells me I'm building a list of people who are interested in improving their marketing efforts, right? So that's kind of where this tool came from.
Quick question on that. Is this pulling from ChatGPT? Is this the same thing as if you're going to ChatGPT, but it creates a form behind it, I guess, in front of it?
Yeah. So what you're doing with these tools is you're basically you're sort of combining your own prompt, right? So I know we've been talking about prompt writing today. So you're going to have a prompt in here, and I'll show that to you in a second. You're also going to have the input from the user. And so what you're doing is as long as if you can write a good prompt for ChatGPT, that's all you have to be able to do. That's really kind of the skill set that you need to do what I'll show you here. The rest of it is ChatGPT is taking care of it, right? And again, it's open AI. It's not directly ChatGPT, but it's the same technology. You can use GPT-4o and all the other sort of stuff they have there. And so what it does in this case, right? So for instance, I describe my audience. I might say like real estate agents who are worried they aren't using enough video. And then what's the main message or offer of the email? An invite to my training about 4 strategies they should try. Right, something like that, right? I also included here an optional drop-down menu, so they can say, like, I want these to come across as curious, and then they click the button. And this is, you're probably seeing like, okay, this looks and feels a lot like that other tool I just showed you, right? Because that's the whole point.
Right. Yeah.
So there you go. You get a bunch of responses, and these are both the subject and the pre-header, right? So by the way, if you want an act just to try this tool, because I think it might be kind of helpful to people, when I give you that phone number later, just text me about it. I'll send a link to you to try it out. So I'm just using this as a basic starting point here. But let's say you have this in front of you, but you want to make something else. You're like, okay, this is neat, but I have, and in fact, I don't know if somebody in the audience wants to propose a business type to us. You can if you'd like to, but that might be kind of fun. But I want to make something new, right? I want something that's going to go on my website. And actually, let me just think of one I've done before, which was we worked with a jeweler a while back, and they wanted to make a tool that would help fiance choose the right kind of ring for their fiance, right? So they're like, okay, I want to, have it ask a couple questions. Some guy's getting married. He doesn't know what kind of ring he's going to get for his girlfriend. Let's help him decide on the kind of cut of the ring that would be a good fit. And obviously, hey, you're the company that just helped this guy figure out what kind of ring he should get. Where do you think he's going to look first? Well, if you got a bunch of links right there at the bottom of the page to those kinds of rings, good chance he's going to click them, right? So that's a pretty good fit. So here's all we got to do that, right? I'm gonna literally show you this process here in the next few minutes. So when you're on Hugging Face, and again, this is any of these spaces you find that are available to use. You can do it with any of them. You're just going to come over to the files. And this file right here, this app.py, this is pretty much it. This is the whole tool. So this is what's kind of eye-opening is this is what's cool about AI is that AI eliminates the need for a lot of the code in the first place, because all I'm really doing is I'm creating a form that the people are filling in. That's the structure, right? That's kind of the I'm eliminating them having to think of what to tell the AI. I'm just asking them questions, right? So that's there. We have the form. And then the other part of it is the prompt. And so I mentioned that the prompt is really important. Well, here it is, right? The prompt is actually part of the tool itself. And so what's happening on the back end, once you have this code up and running, is it's taking what the user is inputting, which you're telling them what to input. So that makes that easier for them. It's combining it with the prompt that you wrote. So this is where you get to incorporate, your level of expertise, the kinds of things maybe you would ask a client to think about when you were sitting down one-on-one with them. It's giving that to the AI, and then it's responding based on that information, right? And that's it. That's all we're doing. So ultimately, it's pretty simple. So all we're going to do right now, and for those of you that are kind of triggered at the moment because you're seeing some code on your screen, I apologize. I know that can be a little overwhelming. You don't have to know what any of that means, right? So I don't know if either you can read any of this, if it means anything to you, but it doesn't much to me, I'll be honest.
That makes me feel
better. Yeah, and that's the thing, right? I mean, I think a lot of folks I talked to, it was a little surreal. I went in and presented to an AP level computer science class at a high school about a month ago. And I was like, I asked the group right off the bat, I was like, what coding language do you think I know how to write in? And they're guessing, and JavaScript and Python, all this kind of stuff. I'm like, trick's on you. I don't know any of them, And so I think immediately they're like, why are you here then? But then I showed them this and it made sense. But yeah, that's what's cool is that I obviously have a little bit of tech background. I like this stuff. It's not completely new to me, but I only have to be able to copy and paste at this point. So let's just be clear there. So I'm going to do that right now. So you go ahead and highlight that and copy it. And then we're going to switch our view one more time because we're going to go over to ChatGPT. So this is the part where you can absolutely follow along yourself if you'd like. So let me pull that up next. And I'm going to tell you exactly what to, in fact, I have a chat here that I've used before. You can see it's quite a long conversation I've had going on, and I've named it my Python coder. I'm just going to make a new one, right? I'm going to show you how to do this if you wanted to kind of start from scratch. So I start a new chat. We want to make sure we're using the newest version of ChatGPT whenever possible. So we'll switch over to that. And this is a paid ChatGPT account. I do think you can do a lot of this with the free account, but in case there's any bells and whistles you're seeing that you don't recognize, it is a paid account. And the first thing I got to do is I have to give it a prompt, which is going to prepare it to work correctly, right? So I'm going to show you, this is a little bit of what I learned. It's not all that complicated, but here's what we're going to do. So I want you, and you can leave your typos. I'll try not to. So I want you to act as a Python coding expert. I will give you, let's see, example code for a AI tool that I built. And I want you to write the code for new tools based on this example. I will describe the new tool, and you will output the full code. When using this code as example, only change the parts that are necessary for the new tool to work correctly. Leave the other code alone. All right. And then we say, here is the example code. Okay.
So I just want to know, I want to ask the audience, how many of you, when you're asking ChatGPT to do something, do you say please?
I do. I do.
I finally stopped saying please because I'm like, it doesn't really care if I'm saying please. But that's how I grew up. When you're asking somebody, it's please, right? But I just thought, I'm just curious if anybody wants, yeah.
I struggle with that. I'm like, I'll go back and I'll backspace, please, because I'm like, no, it's just a computer program, but I still type it.
Right. I know.
I'll be honest. I don't think it's a bad thing to be polite to the AIs at this point. You know, I mean, they're gonna remember who was nice and who wasn't someday when they're
You
supporting
know,
all of us, right?
it could be Santa Claus for all we know, right? Like,
Right. So, and you know, it's interesting, right? I mean, ChatGPT, it does also kind of talk that way. It says please, and you know, it tends to be kind of respectful and all that. And I think, you know, look, I mean, we're not building real relationships with these things. I don't think they can think the way that we do at this point. But I do think, you know, they are responding to the language you use, you know, and they're going to use patterns based on the language you use. And if the stuff that the AI was trained on tends to be more helpful and more respectful and more useful when you're respectful to it, maybe it's worth continuing to do those things, you know? So I like to think of ChatGPT just as my employee, you know? I mean, I'm going to be nice and friendly and respectful to them, you know? So might as well be to the ChatGPT as well. I don't think I said please, but I do try to be not rude at least, right?
That's right.
Okay, so let's go ahead and tell it now, right? So now it says, okay, I got your example code. I have an idea what you want me to do. So let's say, let's make a tool that would help I'm just going to say boyfriend for now. And I know it wouldn't have to be just a boyfriend, but you know, just for simplicity. So help a boyfriend choose the right ring for their fiance. Okay. So now that's not much input. Okay. I want to be clear about that. What I just said was like one or two sentences, you know, literally just one sentence in this case. And what is going to happen here is it's going to give it a wing, right? It's going to say, okay, cool, here we go. And that's it. Now this could be it, right? I mean, I'm going to see what it creates and we'll see if we need to make any adjustments or anything like that. But there you go, right? I mean, so you saw that happen. And this latest iteration of ChatGPT is really fast. That was what, 15 seconds? And assuming it did it correctly, you know, theoretically, this right here should be our new tool, right? So all you got to do from here is you copy this. You're going to create a duplication of the initial page. And so I know I'm not showing this right now. Well, let me do that. I'm going to go ahead and switch one last time. I think this is my last screen switch. I apologize for all these, but hopefully it's helpful to be able to see this stuff as we're sort of talking about it here.
Really, really good for the audience. I know this is something I plan on doing, is going back, slowing things down, and trying it and watching it, going back and forth. These are things that I quite frankly, I don't understand. I'm not techie. I know enough to be dangerous, but that's really about it. So do it back, open up a new screen at huggingface.co.
So this is, so this is a new one. This is, I'm just going to kind of replace what I have here because I don't need it anymore. But for those of you that want to follow this process, what you would do is just click on these three dots here, and you're going to duplicate the space, which is this button at the bottom. Give it a new name for your new tool, right? So in this case, we'd say like, you know, ring finder or something like that. We'll just call it for now. And then this is the part I'm not going to show you because I've made the mistake in the past when I've done these live demos of showing my API key on the screen, and somebody stole it. So that was fun. I was spending some money in my account that I was not aware of. So I'm not going to show that part, but this is easy to do. You're just going to go register for an OpenAI API account, create a new key, and copy it in. And the key, it's literally just a piece of code that's going to allow you to access your account in their company, right? So basically that's just the part that brings the two things together and tells it, okay, once you have the input from the user, where am I sending it to and where am I going to get a response from? That key goes in here, and then you click on duplicate space, right? So it's going to create a new space here. It will be a copy of the existing one. And so then to create your new tool, what we do is we just go to Files, app.py again. We're going to edit it this time. And since we copied what it gave us, we're just going to highlight all this, delete it, paste the new stuff in. And before I move on, I want to show this to you, right? Here's the thing. Now, this is what ChatGPT wrote, right? So it came in here and it said, okay, you are a world-class jewelry expert specializing in engagement rings. Based on the following information, provide 10 unique engagement ring suggestions that would perfectly suit the described fiancé and their relationship. Consider the style, preferences, personality, and budget while making your suggestions. Includes details about the ring's design, gemstone, metal, and any special features. I didn't write any of that, right? I mean, that's what ChatGPT just wrote from scratch based on the 1-sentence description that I gave it. Now, part of why I want to point that out is that sometimes it does a really good job and sometimes it doesn't. That part, this initial prompt in here, is really the only part you're ever going to edit manually. If you want to make changes to any of the other parts of the tool, like you don't like the inputs it's asking for, things like that, you're just going to go back to ChatGPT and ask it to rewrite the code, right? Just explain what you want it to do differently. It'll rewrite it and it'll give you the new code. But when it comes to the output that you get, if you don't like the kinds of things it's giving you as a response, and actually most of the work is in testing the tool, not making it in the first place. That's kind of true of any coding, right? But as I'm testing it, if the responses I'm getting are a little bit funky, that's where I come in. And this is where the prompt engineering skill is important, is knowing what to say in the prompt to get a better response, right? And that's we're seeing people kind of differentiating themselves now in that particular area, right? If I can write a good prompt, that's going to allow me to get better responses, right? So that's the part. If you go, man, I like this tool, but it's just giving me weird answers. Look at your prompt, change a sentence or two, restart it, see if you get better responses, right? Don't like them, same thing, go back and forth. And eventually what you'll find is you're going to learn certain ways to edit that prompt that are going to give you the answer you want. So once we're done with that, right, we went ahead and put the tool in here, come down and click on save at the bottom. And that's it. So we're going to see what this does, right? I mean, this is always the risk of doing live demos, is that this absolutely may not work, but we will find out in just a second. But there you go, right? I mean, this is, I think the main thing I would want you to take away from this demo is to just understand that, like, I didn't write any code, right? I mean, I literally have only written a few sentences in English in this entire process. And this is the kind of stuff that these tools are already capable of doing, right? I mean, so right now it's building it. It's going to take usually 1 to 2 minutes. And then we'll sort of find out here in just a second if it actually worked or not. But that's it, right? I mean, and the point is, if anybody can do this sort of stuff now, it's just a matter of how quickly you're going to take action, right? How quickly do you want to learn to do this stuff? Oh, it actually looks like my key in here is what's misplaced. So I might tell you what, I'm going to stop the screen share because I want to have a chance to answer any questions that came through, and I'll replace that key behind the scenes while I'm doing that, and we'll see if we can get it working here in another second or two.
So where do you go to have an open API key created?
Yeah, I can. So literally just Google Open AI API, okay. Right?
Okay.
Like not to oversimplify, but that really is all you got to do, right? So OpenAI API, that's going to take you over to their website where you can register an account. Now, really, it is pretty much that simple. You're going to register the account. Once you log in, if you go to your dashboard, you're going to see on the left-hand side, I could show you this if you want, but you don't really have to see it. It's just your login on the left-hand side. It says API keys. You click on that. You click the button that says create a new secret key, and that's it. So, I mean, it's really that simple, right? So you create the key, you copy the code, which again is just a long string of characters, and then that's what you put into that box I showed you earlier, right?
While you're taking this behind scenes, for everyone who doesn't know what an API key is, it is a unique identifier. It's just like it sounds. It's a key. So not everyone has a key to your house. This, by generating a key, it secures your code. That's all it is. You're just rekeying your lock like you would a house. It's unique to you, and that's all you're doing. It's really simple to do. But just for folks who may not understand what API or what an API key is or why it's needed, hope that provides some understanding. If you're not sure, I would say go to Claude or Midjourney
or ChatGPT and ask it to explain it to you.
Yeah. What is the purpose of an open AI API key? And it'll spit out all the information about that. There's a whole bunch of, it'll probably write a book for you.
Like, really, generally speaking, anytime you're integrating any kind of apps and you're integrating, like for me, I'm a podcaster. So when I integrate different things on Podpage so that, integrate my calendar, email subscription, all of that stuff, most of those other services need that key. So it's kind of a standard thing. But if you haven't come across it, then you wouldn't understand that. Yeah.
Yeah, and I think it's worth sort of pointing out there, and I kind of hinted at that earlier. It is really important to keep those keys secure, because if someone else can copy it, they can use your OpenAI account without you really knowing about it until
it's a password, essentially.
Yeah.
Like you don't want anybody knowing your password to your bank account, right? Because then you're really screwed.
Exactly. Yeah.
Right.
All right, so I'm getting this updated. It's still restarting right now, but we'll see if we get a working product before we're almost out of time. I know, but yeah. So that's
transition period built in, so you're good.
Okay, cool. So we're still just waiting on it for the restart to kick through here.
While you're waiting on that, we might run over by a little bit. I want to take 2 minutes while you're waiting on that.
Yeah,
and let everyone know that next week we are holding an AI mastermind in conjunction with the LA Tribune and LA Tribune Podcast Network and LA Tribune Women's Journal. And to register for that, we will push information out. Take out your phone, text AI to, you see it on the bottom of your screen.
Let me
512-865-4065. So AI 512-865-4065. That is a chat bot that will allow us to push information to you for next week's mastermind. And then also for 30 days, it will every day send you an AI tip or a trick or feed you information about AI and how it can be used. So that's something that is we're rolling out. Oh, if you want to test out a voice bot, once you opt into the AI in this number, ask it to call you. Say you want to test out the voice bot. This is new technology that was really developed and perfected and trained in the past 2 and 3 weeks. So we have a chance to roll it out here, and with the assistance of Tobias Patch, Teched Out Pros, and Kristen Moore. So I want to say thank you to both of those individuals behind the scenes doing what they do. So Nick, are you ready?
Yeah, so this one's still restarting. Again, errors of doing live demo. So I tried to make another duplication of it real quick. We'll see if this one activates before we have to wrap up here. But yeah, I think just to kind of give you some follow-ups on this. Okay, this one's working. Okay, there it is. So let me show it to you. That's good. It's always embarrassing when the tech won't come through for you before you have to get off of these things.
So while you're doing that,
yeah.
Jackie, I'm not sure if it will work with UK phone numbers. You can certainly try. Just make sure you put the country code of 1 before, and we'll see what happens.
I would imagine, Tom, that there would be some sort of, unless you have a text, yeah, your phone is capable. It's just like if we go overseas, like you have to get a certain chip or something.
I would say, Jack, if you want to try it, if it works, let us know. I'd be curious on that.
Yeah.
Whoops. I'm going to take that off the screen here.
Sorry, we're doing this at the same time, Tom.
Oh, you do it. Okay.
All right, so we can see this now. Good. Okay, so I'm filling in some details. So the three inputs, and again, I didn't select any of these. This is all ChatGPT came up with it. It says describe your fiance, details about your relationship. I'm gonna say 3 years, met on Match.com. Obviously these kinds of tools, they always work better with the more there's a limit. Obviously, you can only give it so much information that it can even take, but usually the more you put in, the better response you're going to get, right? The last thing then it has, and so I could put a more detailed description. We're going to move on quickly though, is select your budget range. We'll just do $1,000 to $3,000, and then we're going to click on generate ring suggestions. So you can see over here, it's running. That's always a good sign. That doesn't mean that it's not going to still break. So if you get to this point, you're like, all right, cool, my tool's working. It says running, great. And then it doesn't give you the right kind of output, that's possible, right? But here we go. So we got suggested engagement rings, vintage floral halo ring, a rose gold morganite ring, a sunflower diamond ring. I don't know what any of these are, right? I mean, this is completely foreign to me. Yeah. But there you go, right? So we got our 6 different ring recommendations. That was again, that took us a few minutes to go from a completely different tool that wrote email subject lines to a completely new AI tool that comes up with ideas for engagement rings. And so what you then do from here is you test the heck out of it, right? So I think that this is the part that it's frustrating. It does take some time, but you want to make sure you put lots of different iterations, lots of different inputs into it, and see what kind of responses you get, right? Now, you can then go back to ChatGPT and describe what you wanted to change. So I could go back to that same chat I already had going and say, all right, I don't want it to ask me to describe my relationship. I want it to all be about the fiance and things about her, and just have like a series of questions about this person, and it'll make those changes, right? You want it to have certain inputs, tell it, it will change the code to have those inputs, and you just do the same process again. You copy the new code and you replace it over here on Hugging Face, right? So that's it, right? So what I encourage you to think about here, and this is really what I'm helping people in this new business that I'm starting to do, is you have to think about, what is your unique angle, right? What are the things that separate you from your competitors? What are the branding details that you like to emphasize? And can you create a tool that you could then put on your website that's going to emphasize those same things, right? Help your prospective clients with the same kinds of problems that you normally help them in real life, right? And so we're not trying to eliminate that conversation. We're still going to probably have those conversations. We're still going to go through our sales process, but this is the kind of thing that's going to get you in front of that person before they're ready to have the conversation, right? So somebody that would use a tool like this, go to a website, fill out some form, and get a bunch of custom responses for themselves, they might not be ready to go into a jeweler and start looking at rings, right? They're sort of at an earlier step in the process. And that's exactly what we want, right? So this is everybody's gonna be different. Every business is different. Even two people in the same industry might have totally different ideas, but that's what you want to ask yourself, right? Is put that marketing hat on and say to yourself, look, if I can help someone a little bit before they would pick up the phone or go to my website and contact me, that's where you want this tool to come into play, right? And then you just put it out wherever you can. I think the last thing to mention here is what to do with this stuff. Well, run ads on it. One of the things I've seen a ton, I'm not kidding, I've gotten over 50 leads on a single comment on a Facebook post, not a Facebook post itself, but somebody asked a question in a big group on Facebook, and I came in and said, hey, I made an AI tool that kind of helps with this. In fact, it'll give you a customized answer just for your business. And 50 other people came along and said, oh, that sounds cool. Can I have a copy of it too? Which is mind blowing. I've never done anything that's sort of that viral in that sense. And so that's what you do, right? You make your tool and then you just go out and you look for conversations, you look for spaces where it would help people, and you just offer it to them, right? And depending on how you have it set up, if they have to opt in for it first, or if they can use it and then they opt in later, doesn't matter. Those are both fair game. But they're going to be so appreciative, right? Because you're helping them with something, you're making it easy. You're eliminating the need to have that conversation first. They can just use the tool and get the response, and then they can take the next step when they're ready. But they're going to think of you because you've already helped them along the journey. So hopefully that makes sense.
I've been sitting here because I'm like that type of person where, you tell me about a business idea, my mind just starts going. It's like I have a computer that's going, and I've been sitting here taking notes, and I'm coming up with and then I'm like, okay, like I really have time to add one more project to my life.
Right.
But I love this. And thank you so much for going through that demonstration. Mm-hmm. I mean, that was really incredible. That was really, really incredible.
Yeah, thank you. Yeah, and I know it's a lot and it's quick, right? This is obviously a fast kind of overview of it, but I think the main thing is it doesn't take long to learn how to do these things. And as more people do, they're going to start to do them, right? They're going to start to have this kind of stuff out there. And to be first is a big deal in this space, right? To be the first, say, I've got a custom AI tool on my website you can use. That's a big differentiator, I think.
Yeah, for sure. Incredible.
Cool.
Love it.
You've given us a lot of thought, I know this is one of those panels that extremely helpful if you apply it. I do know that I have a lot of different ideas that I'm going to be going back. I might even give you a call in case someone does have a question. Would you be able to give us your information?
Yeah, so I was let me do this real quick. I was actually gonna throw my let me put a phone number here. I'm just gonna change my headline for a second, so that should be under my name now. I'm gonna put the names on the screen, but the phone number is 314. So you just want to write this down real quick. 314-756-9959. So 314-756-9959. If you want to send like that's a sort of a general text line for my other business. If you want to text me there, you can say whatever you want, right? But if you just want to basically reach out and say what is you want, because I know we went over a lot today. So if you want to link to the hugging face example, you know, just say hugging face or just explain what you're looking for. But just point is just text me at that number and I'll get you whatever you need. So thanks,
Awesome.
thanks for
Good deal. Well, I certainly appreciate your time, your generosity with your time and your knowledge and your skill set. Really appreciate it. Nich, thank you so much.